This is OwlUp, where learning happens in minutes, not hours. For a deeper journey, explore all our courses at owlup.co. Now, let's dive in. Welcome to Chapter 1 of our series, Mastering the Art of Persuasion. In today's episode, titled Understanding the Psychology of Persuasion, we'll explore the fascinating psychological principles that drive how we influence others. Get ready to uncover the strategies that can help you become a more persuasive communicator. Let's dive in. A single word can double the chance someone says yes to you, and most people never notice it happened. You're at a cafe, in a meeting, scrolling online. Tiny cues are quietly steering your choices. Today, we're walking straight into that hidden layer of everyday persuasion. Those hidden forces aren't random tricks. They follow patterns, reliable ones. Researchers have spent decades poking at human decisions from every angle: lab setups with clipboards and stopwatches, charity mailers stuffed with tiny freebies, booking sites quietly A/B testing headlines in the background. Again and again, the same levers show up. We respond differently when others have gone first, when someone offers us something on the house, when we've already said yes to a small step. What's wild is how often this happens while we feel completely rational. You still think you chose the hotel, the charity, the product purely on merit. In reality, your mind is running shortcuts, like background apps on your phone, saving effort by leaning on social proof, reciprocity, and commitment. Today, we're going to surface those shortcuts and see how they're used in sales, negotiation, and everyday conversations, and how to use them without becoming manipulative. Notice how the most persuasive moments in your life rarely feel like persuasion. A friend makes a casual suggestion, a website highlights one option, a colleague phrases an idea just right, and suddenly your resistance softens. This isn't mind control, it's more like good interface design for human attention. Small choices in timing, wording, and context quietly tilt the floor under our decisions. In sales, leadership, or dating, the people who excel aren't louder, they're more precise. They know when to nudge, when to pause, and when to let silence do the heavy lifting. That's the layer we're about to unpack. Most people think persuasion lives in big moments: the pitch, the close, the dramatic speech. In reality, the heavy lifting often happens 2 or 3 steps earlier, when you quietly shape what feels normal, expected, or already in motion. Start with how you frame the situation. The same request lands very differently depending on the story wrapped around it. Can you help with this report? Pulls for effort and sacrifice. Can you give me your opinion on this draft? Pulls for status and contribution. Both end with someone reading your work. Only one sounds like a favor that might be refused. Framing doesn't change the facts. It changes what those facts mean to the listener. Next, consider sequence. The order of your moves often matters more than their content. Smart fundraisers don't begin with, "Give us money." They start with a tiny ask. "Could you spare 30 seconds for a quick survey?" Because saying yes once makes the second yes feel like staying consistent, not giving in. Skilled negotiators use the same logic in reverse. They open with a larger, reasonable but ambitious request, then concede to what they actually wanted, allowing the other side to feel they've won ground. Then there's contrast. Human judgment is relative, not absolute. A $100 add-on feels outrageous beside a $20 purchase and trivial next to a $5,000 one. Many subscription pages quietly arrange options so the middle choice looks both safer than the priciest tier and more sensible than the stripped-down version. No single price changed. Your reference point did. Reason giving is another underused lever. In that classic copier study, people were far more likely to agree simply because a "because" was present, even when the justification was weak. You don't need to deliver a philosophy lecture. You need to plug the gap between your ask and their question. Why should I? In practice, could we jump on a quick call because I want to make sure this draft reflects your priorities? Gives the request a clear purpose and centers their benefit. Finally, persuasive people manage attention. They don't dump every fact. They highlight the few details that matter most to the other person right now. Think of a good software dashboard. It doesn't show all data, it surfaces what's actionable. None of this requires charisma. It requires noticing. What story am I creating? What comes first? What does this get compared to? What reason am I giving? What are they actually looking at? Think about a first date where one person monologues their resume versus a date where they ask sharp, curious questions and share just enough about themselves to keep things moving. Same setting, totally different pull. What changes isn't the facts of who they are, but which details get surfaced and in what order. In sales, this shows up when a rep starts with a short client story that mirrors the prospect's situation instead of opening with a product tour. The story quietly sets the frame. People like you use solutions like this. Only then do the features appear, already anchored to something that feels relevant and safe. Even in friendships, you can feel this difference. You never text back drops like a brick. I miss hearing from you during the week invites a response. Both describe the same reality. One spotlights blame, the other spotlights connection. Across contexts, the real skill is selecting which slice of reality you bring forward so that the other person can more easily step toward the outcome you both want. Data-driven micro-tuning is coming. Your tone, timing, and offer adjusted in real time the way a music app adapts playlists. But influence at that resolution forces a new question. Who's holding the remote? Your values or your quarterly targets? Sales teams may soon need something like a flight recorder in aviation, a trace of which levers were pulled and why, so clients, regulators, and you yourself can audit not just outcomes, but the path you chose to get there. Treat this less like learning tricks and more like learning a new language. The more fluent you get, the more you'll notice how others are speaking to you too. Start listening. Sales pages, meeting requests, even text threads. Which moves feel fair, which feel off? That quiet audit is how influence turns from a blunt tool into a craft. Here's your challenge this week. Choose one everyday request you'll be making, for example, asking a teammate for help on a project, and deliberately apply 3 persuasion principles from the episode: reciprocity, social proof, and scarcity in a single conversation. For reciprocity, first do a concrete favor or share a useful resource for them. For social proof, briefly mention one real example of someone similar who benefited from saying yes. For scarcity, clearly state a real deadline or limited window for your request. After the interaction, quickly rate how effective each principle felt on a 1 to 10 scale and adjust your approach the next time you make a similar ask. This was OwlUp, your daily step forward. To keep learning with structured courses and more insights, go to owlup.co. Until tomorrow!